Whether you're leading for the first time, leading through change, or learning to lead all over again, this space is for you. No fluff, no gimmicks, just real talk from those who've led through challenges, adapted under pressure, and thrived in the face of change. Welcome to Command to Corporate, where leadership isn't just taught, it's lived. Let's get to work.
All right, welcome back, everybody. As always, I am LP. He is T. T, we
Yes,
caught up
sir.
just a minute ago offline, but how you doing?
I'm doing okay. This weekend is a pretty chill weekend. Just working out, doing chores. It's nice. It's kind of raining outside, so that helps.
Is it raining down there now? I know we had some storms over the
It
weekend.
was earlier, yeah,
Oh, okay.
but
I
it's
know it was
definitely like
real foggy.
cloudy and looks nasty outside for sure.
Oh, okay. All right, and it shifted. What am I like? Maybe what, 25 miles maybe from you or
Mm,
so,
yeah, probably something about that. Yeah,
and it's nice and sunny here where I am. So
really?
yeah,
Oh
yeah. This
shoot,
morning though, it was quite foggy. But
yeah,
like you, it's
same.
been a chill weekend. Worked out. I think that's been pretty much the highlight of the weekend. And then that's it. Besides making a little bit of food here and there, and that's it.
Actually, my highlight of the weekend was yesterday. I took a day nap, and I can't remember the last time I napped in the middle of the day, honestly. So I was pretty excited
It's
about
get to that point in your life, right? When you need naps.
Oh man, I think you're right. I didn't think about that, but I think you're right. Yeah. I'll own it.
Man,
It's okay.
hey, if you're out there, you creep it up there. You like those day naps, let us know. I'm sure somebody.
Oh man, when I was in the army, I had a lieutenant colonel boss of mine who would fall asleep in meetings. Like
Dang.
brief in general, nonetheless, And
Damn.
it was not pretty.
No.
But I don't know. Some people are on some medication that just kind of, knocks them out. So,
True, true,
but
true.
all good.
Yeah, I did get in a run this morning, which is good.
Yeah.
I've been at least trying to get out there like at least I try to target 3 days a week,
Mm.
3 to 4 days a week.
Hmm.
I'm getting outside because it's cooler in the morning.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I'll wake up early and usually hit the road and just do this big long loop around and come back to my house, which is really good. A little over 2 miles, not much, but sticking to
Something's
it.
better than nothing.
Heck yeah. And then probably after we finish, my wife and I are going to go find a pumpkin patch somewhere, go check it out. We haven't been to one. So we're going
Oh,
to
that's
go
pretty
find one.
cool. Okay.
Apparently, there's one in Marble Falls. It's like 152
Mm,
acres. So might make the trek out there and just go check it out. Just go for a nice
cool.
drive. Good day for
Enjoy.
it. Yeah. All right. So today we're jumping into it. So we're going to keep this series going. Episode 4, we are talking about communicating up, down, and across. We will kick it right off. So, why do leaders need to adapt their communication style for different audiences? And to me, that it may just seem like a no brainer that you would, because it
Hmm.
depends on the audience.
Right.
That you might um, be more like, for example, if you're, and you've experienced this plenty of times. If you're speaking to a higher level group, senior leaders, your communication and your presentation, what you're delivering may be way more concise because you've gotten feedback. What do they expect to receive from
Exactly.
you? Whereas other groups, it might be like it could be a little bit more informal or more nonchalant, or it's just like we just gonna talk this thing out,
Hmm.
where you have the freedom and the flexibility to say, let's just take this a little easy and light, versus we're in a time crunch. I need to know the information so I can make a decision and move on.
Yeah. No, I think you're right, and I think you pretty much covered everything like I was thinking as well. I think you have to, in order to effectively communicate, you have to understand the needs and the situation of the person that's receiving it, right? So,
Yeah.
different people have different need for a level of detail because maybe they know something or don't already about the topic. Sometimes they just don't have the time, you know, or sometimes the attention span, honestly. But
Yeah.
like you said, high level C suite, little time. Um, they're not looking for the deep detail, but they just kind of like the highlights, actions, impact, situation kind of deal, right? I think middle management, on the other hand, it's like, tell me what you want and only give me, background information if it's relevant to what's required, right? That's at least my experience has been. Like, oh, you want something from me? It's like usually a peer. But that's kind of like a little bit easier because it's free to ask for more detail. It's not a big deal. Or a peer will just tell you, all right, I got you, let it be. I got it. I got it for
Yeah.
you. But then it comes to the lower associate. I think those uh, tend to have probably a little bit more time on their hand, and some high speed people are like, oh, I want to absorb, I want to understand. So like they're taking all that detail
Yeah.
because it's an opportunity to learn and it's opportunity to teach them as well. So yeah, I think it's very relevant to the audience for sure, like you said.
Yeah. And then the next one, which you've hit on
Mm,
this, is what's the difference between briefing an executive and coaching a direct report? And I think maybe coaching in general or mentoring in general, but from my experience, even when briefing an executive, I guess I guess that's the key word, briefing an executive,
yeah,
because you can catch up with an executive and have an informal chat and just be kind of shooting the
absolutely.
shit. But if
Yeah.
you have to brief, it's like, what are you briefing on? Having those details, and depending on, again, going back to that feedback, do they want the visual, the bullet points, the
Hmm.
numbers, make so they can just get the whole picture right away and move on, and that's it. Because you may be advising with the briefing, but it's still the delivery of the content that's going to make a difference. Where coaching is just, to me, it's just totally different.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And also a lot of times, executive would want maybe a read ahead, and that's the other thing to consider. A read ahead, is that what they expect, or will you send a read ahead and just don't read it? I don't know. Then there's people that will want a lot of information on a slide, like, you know, full of words, and some people just want bullets. So I think you're
Yeah.
right. I think it definitely depends on the person, but generally speaking, yeah, high level, to the point, concise delivery when it comes to executive. Yeah.
And I remember I had this chief performance officer, and I have to look back at his method, but it was some acronym he had, almost like you want a graphic, you want like data, and then you want like the bullets, and have that
Mm,
all on one slide.
mm,
And really, the bullets are just really more prompts to for you to say, or maybe just getting straight to the point.
mm,
Um, and I think that moves on to the next one of like, how do you ensure clarity when communicating complex ideas? It's really what are those main points? Because to your previous point, when you say some people like all those words, but then are you expecting me to read all that to you? Which is I don't
that's
like that because it's like everybody knows how to read. So do
yeah.
you want a moment to read this? And I think usually what comes on the back of that, okay, tell me what I need to get out of this. Okay, well then why did you want all these words in the first place? Because I could have went straight to what are the main points.
Mm, yeah. Um, yeah, but some people, man, I don't know. They're very analytical types.
Hmm.
They want that detail, I guess, for background information, which sometimes
Yeah,
could work out well because they come with like really good questions, as opposed to maybe you're spending a lot of time explaining something, which
true.
pros and cons, I guess.
Yeah. So what role does listening play in effective leadership communication? I mean, to me, the only go ahead. What were you gonna say?
So, what role listening plays? I think, first of all, I think it promotes understanding of the situation, right? But also it builds trust um, with others. It says like, this person cares to understand the full situation, or really, it shows that you care about people, or you really care about the mission or the objective. So I think that's the way I see listening. I like the saying something about listening twice as much as you speak, right? It's
Hmm.
kind of generally a pretty good thing. Because if you speak more, you're about to say something stupid. At least I'm guilty of it.
Yeah, yeah, and I think when I've like engaged with higher up leaders, and you're going to like maybe it's a one-on-one conversation, you're sharing, giving them updates, but
Mm,
they're focusing on something else, and then you're like still going. still
Oh
telling
yeah,
them,
yeah, yeah,
okay, but they're like, okay, and then you're okay, okay, anything else? No, okay, all right, I'll talk to you later. Then you fast forward months, and
yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
they're like, what about this? Now it's a concern, and it's like, well, I've been giving you updates this whole time. Were you not listening? Did you not read my reports? Like all of the, and now it's back on you, and it's like, well, where is the leadership? Because you should have been listening the whole
Yeah,
time. And I've
yeah,
been, and especially when it's, I'm verbally telling you, and then if there's some kind of method to which you want me to document in, and you still are not paying attention to either one, it's like, well, I'm keeping you informed. What's the problem?
yeah. And you could tell sometimes when people are like, "Oh, this person's not listening," and kind of like
Yeah,
you lose confidence in that person.
true. Very
Then you
much so.
also like, I was like, "Oh, he's not gonna make an informed decision, really, or
No.
he doesn't care about what we're saying." That's kind
Yep.
of what it tells me.
Yep. That's right. All right. So this is a little bit of a shift. How do you prevent miscommunication in cross-functional teams? And we were just kind of hitting a little bit on this
Mm,
prior. I think um, preventing miscommunication to me is transparency. It's
mm,
really that open communication and making sure those team members are involved. And it could be a combination of catch-up meetings,
mm,
um, meeting minutes to keep track
mm.
of what's going on. Maybe there's a
That's a good
log
point.
that you keep status updates and everything. So it's like,
Yeah.
not only am I updating it and keeping it here where you see and we're all agreeing on next steps, I'm also sharing and talking. And sometimes I think miscommunication can happen. It's not so much that it's miscommunication as they don't like what they're hearing.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's a good
And
point.
then because it's not what they want, well,
Hmm.
now it's a miscommunication. It's not a miscommunication. It's this is the way it is.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think personally, I like the idea of having, meetings across teams.
Hmm.
Specifically, what I've seen that really works very well, is if you're overseeing these teams under you, right? So whether, the CEO oversees several SVPs, what I personally have seen that worked is like, all right, get everybody in a room and just give a really quick 10-minute status update of what's going on with your team. So that kind of automatically informs the leader, but also informs their peers around the table. So I personally like that technique, but I also understand that it may be some people may see it as a waste of time or another meeting. I get that. So maybe
Yeah.
minutes also works, like you said, but ultimately transparency is maybe the key to it. But just how do you do that is
Yeah.
someone
And
needs to do
it's,
that, I guess.
yeah, some people I've seen, use the actual notes section within Teams to document notes. Some teams use OneNote. There's a lot of different avenues. And if anyone has any suggestions for listeners out there and viewers, definitely drop it in there. Tricks of the trade that can help with that. So, how should leaders handle communication breakdowns?
That is a leader responsibility, period. That is
Yes,
no other way around it. Leader
true.
must step in because usually a communication breakdown is two people not listening, two
Yeah,
teams or whatever.
yeah,
That's usually the problem. And so a
yeah.
leader has to step in and it's like, okay, what's the situation? What's the situation with the other person? Why is there a miscommunication? And you kind of have to force it. That's my technique, but maybe, you know, that might be a little too aggressive. But yeah, I'm
I
definitely the
don't think
hammer
so.
in this
I,
situation.
I agree. I think that they the leader needs to bring both people
Hmm.
in or whoever's involved and say, help me understand what's going on.
Yep.
What was put out? How was this communicated? What was shared? Any and everything so that we can understand how this may have happened and then
Hmm.
set clear expectations going forward. And if it's something that has led to tension, I don't want to see this within my department. Here's what will happen. Just make sure this and that, go
Yep.
forth and happen. What I see have seen in the past is leaders talk to one person, talk to another person, talk to one person, talk to the other person, or it's whoever comes and cries the loudest. Well, clearly they must be right. So
That
the
is
other person
true.
is wrong. It's just, and so then the
Yes.
communication breakdown
Yeah.
is not on the one that's sitting there crying the loudest, it's on the
Yeah.
other one that is not coming to me saying anything.
Yeah.
Clearly, you're wrong, or your teammates are wrong, or whatever.
That's
Here's what you
true.
need to do.
Yeah. Whoever cries the loudest and whoever, cries first. So as a
Yes.
leader, you got to be super mindful of that. Just because somebody
Mhm.
comes tells you, it's like, oh, this person is not sharing or not communicating with me, doesn't mean that person is right.
Yeah.
Because you haven't heard the other side of the story. So yeah, absolutely, this is why it's important for the leader to kind of be very objective and step in and kind of understand situation and say, hey, get your stuff together, both of you.
Yeah. So, next one, what
Hmm.
military briefing techniques transfer well into corporate? And if I can kick off, I had someone reach
Hmm.
out to me recently who was not prior service, who said, hey, do you happen to have an after action review template or something like
Really?
that?
Oh,
Yeah. And I was like, no, but I can get one for you,
sure.
because they were thinking that the meeting is kind of getting derailed because people are looking at almost like taking a problem solving approach, which is fine, but it's kind of like taking the meeting off track versus saying, let's take it more from the after action review. What went well? What went wrong? What are we going to do different? And just
Mm,
document things versus turning a session where let's just review it as an after action review versus let's turn it into this bigger thing that we don't need to do at the moment. Like it's
yes.
over with. Let's just debrief
Yes.
and talk about that only. And then we
Hmm.
can take the next steps after, but let's just debrief. And that's what they're getting lost in. So I said, sure. Um, handed it off, didn't hear back. So I'm hoping it's working out.
That's good. I think you're right. I think something that I learned later on in my career is kind of upfront telling people what kind of meeting it is, right? So whether it's a
Mm,
decision meeting, whether it's an information meeting, whether it's just kind of an FYI meeting, get together. I think that is probably pretty cool. I like that idea up front. Just put it out there. So this is not a working meeting. This is a status update meeting. So that means I'm going to give a status, and we're going to limit the sidebars. We're going to limit the working meeting vibes out of it. This it's not it. I also like how the army, I mean, they kind of the presentation, they try to keep it simple, you know?
yes.
Um, and it's I like it. There's no need to overcomplicate slides and information. Just give it to me clean and simple, good to go. Fine. But I understand it goes back to your audience. If you're briefing data scientists and they want something very specific, you have to tailor that to them. Got it, no issues.
Yeah.
Another pet peeve of mine is people assume everybody knows acronyms.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I don't know how many presentations I see. I was like, what is this acronym? And
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what it is. So that's
Yeah.
another pet peeve of mine. Another pet peeve of mine is somebody, on the slide brings up a table or a figure and just starts talking, which is fine. Doesn't really give me a moment just to orient the table or figure. So like I've always been taught, like you bring up a figure or a table, orient the person to it. So
Mhm.
as you can see, the
What are you
columns are
looking at?
this. Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
exactly. So let
Yeah.
me help me absorb the information properly before just trying to understand what's going on. And you're sitting
Yeah.
here talking, and I'm missing everything that you're saying. So
Yeah.
yeah, those are pet peeves of mine.
Yeah. I remember though having, I like the idea of telling people the way it is up front, because I've done that
That's
where
right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, here's what we're going to discuss. This
Hmm.
is what the outcome should be, the desired outcome. Here's what we're not going
Yes.
to cover. And I have some people where it's been like, hey, great. And then some people go, well, why not? It's like, because it's my meeting and this is what's going to happen. Like, and then they all can sometimes get offended. And it's like, look,
Mm.
now's not the time for that. And unfortunately, got to check them and just put them back to where they need to be. And they may not like it, but it is what it is, you know. And
Yeah.
I think that's what needs to happen. Um, and then I was going to say something else to one of your points, and I lost the damn track. It'll come back to me.
Yeah. I'm gonna kind of double click on one of your points. So,
Mhm.
bluff, right? Bottom line up front, which is
Oh
just a little
yeah,
bit deeper than what we're saying. Yeah, I
yeah.
like that idea. This is an decision brief. Here's a problem. We recommend this course of action, and then you
Mm,
go into how you got to that point, whatever. So I
yeah.
like that as well. Sometimes that works. Not in all situations, obviously, but yeah, kind of tells people like, boom, we've thought of everything. This is what we recommend, but let me show you the details of why we recommend that. That to me, I
Yeah.
like.
But then sometimes, when you do the bottom line up front, you just get straight to the key points here, 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 here.
Mhm.
But then you'll have an appendix or something that has maybe further
Sure,
detail.
exactly.
And if you do an advanced read, it's like, well, you can look at further detail if you want offline
Hmm.
so that you're prepared to hit on the concrete points, be prepared to make a decision if they look at it. And it can go the flip side is like, I'm just going to cover this on a high level. Following this, you could read more of the background if you want, but for
True.
the sake of this, we're trying to move forward. So I guess it can
Yeah.
go either way. And even on your point of acronyms, that was the thought I had. I remember getting hired for a job, a continuous improvement
Hmm.
job. So I'm getting interviewed by the director of continuous improvement. So I'm thinking, well, he's the director. He must know. I would think he would know. And so as I'm talking, I'm using all of these acronyms that go along with continuous improvement. And I'm just throwing them
Yeah.
out there. And then at some point, he's like, wait, wait, wait. Try to steer away from using acronyms, keep it, spell it out that way, because you're going to be talking to multiple people. Though I wasn't, but he
Okay.
was like, spell it out so we know,
Yeah.
so that everyone is on the same page. I'm like, oh, not a problem. So then I did. Fast forward, I come to find out he didn't have a background in it to begin with. So he kind of fell into the role. There was a vacancy. He saw his promotional opportunity,
Yeah.
jumped in, took it, but didn't have a background in it. So
Got
then
it.
it's like now you're going to try to take on a leadership role in a space you have no knowledge about. So then when you're hiring people, you have no clue what's what. So it's like so he's above the hiring manager. So the hiring manager's picking as somewhat of knowledge, but he had hardly any. So
Mm.
so well, that's why you told me that because you didn't know. But I get it. You want to make sure that people are on the same page. It makes sense in a
Yeah.
large room. But that one was a little. It took me aback, but I didn't find out till later.
Yeah, but you're right. It goes back to you never assume people know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. My bad. So, how can storytelling be used to inspire and influence? Let me repeat again. How can storytelling be used to inspire and influence? And I know that you see it all over social media now, TED Talks, all kinds of things where people tell stories, and it's this happy ending and, gets to feel good and influence. And, and a lot of that stuff happens. I still think sometimes it depends on the room,
On a
to
what?
read the room. You got to read the room because
Mm.
sometimes you can be telling this nice feel good story and it can be like, well, I really want you to just get to the point, you know. So I think
Yeah.
it can be. So how can it? I mean, because it can be, just as it says, it can be used to inspire. You if you're telling a story of how things didn't work out and then these changes were made and adjustments and then the outcome was great and you may be in the same boat but start to think about this and that and you can build up and inspire and blah 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 and the outcome could be if you just need to follow and you're like pumped up, yeah, okay, and I know I've been there and I'm gonna try to use that
Mm.
technique. And then sometimes depending on the room it's like maybe I want the bottom line up front. Maybe I don't want you to tell me, that's a great question. When I was a boy, I went. It's like, wait. What? Just answer the question. Don't take me down memory lane right now. So I think it
Yeah.
all depends. It can be for sure, 100%. We see it all the time. Is it applicable all the time? I would say, you got to assess the situation.
Yeah, I looked at it a slightly different, but I like storytelling, right? Especially for the first time you're presenting something. I
Hmm.
think it provides a natural structure to what you're trying to deliver, right? So it's typically, you tell somebody, here's a problem that we have, like I go try to do this and here's a problem. And so I can't get my work done, yada, yada, yada. So try to find a solution to it, and I went and I researched and I identified this is the best technique. And now we're implementing, or I recommend we implement it, right? I think it's for the presenter, it's a nice way to deliver a whole bunch of information without necessarily reading off the slide, right? So a lot of times, like, here's a problem statement, here's the impact on
I agree.
business, here's the
Yeah.
courses of action, and
Yeah.
that kind of could get dull, and so you could kind of bypass all of that, or at least help not read off the slides like line for line, and just kind
Mm.
of give like tell a story, even if it's kind of your experience with something or somebody else's experience with something and how it prevented somebody from doing work or slowed them down. So I like that. But I tried to deliver a story one time to a person who already knew the problem and knew kind of the solution, and he's like, "Stop." Like that. T, stop. Just give me the highlights. So yeah, I've been caught in that situation. And I'm like,
Now,
oh, okay. You know about this already. My bad.
yeah, and I think that goes back to reading the room and understanding the
Yeah.
audience, which we've been mentioning throughout. And I do like the point though on if you have some kind of presentation, and I see so many people read line for line.
Hmm.
People can read. And
Yeah.
unless you're in some big room and it's like, can everyone see this? Or if you're printing on Teams or over, any kind of platform at work, well, everyone can
Mm.
read it. Now, if you're in a large room, there's people in the back. Can everyone see this? No. Then it might be okay. I will read, or it may say I'm gonna just hit on some key things here. I'll follow up in an email, send it to you. But to me, one of the worst things you can do is read line for line because as soon as you
Yeah.
start, and it's like, are you gonna do this for all these slides? You're gonna read to us? It's like, come on. No. So people out there, if you are guilty of that, please, you got to tighten it up. Use that notes section. Say something like, hey,
Mm.
there's a lot of information here. I'm gonna point out a couple key points that I want you to get out of this and go
Yes.
straight
I
to
like that.
those. Or maybe you
Yeah.
bold those points.
Hmm.
And then I think this would couple into the storytelling in a sense to say, we had X amount of this. Now, last quarter, we this. Now, this is information that's not up there. And you're saying, hey, last quarter, we went through this, and this, which led us to, and then you kind of pulling it in. And maybe you have a graph or a chart of some sort that maybe tells a little bit of the history. But
Hmm.
I think that's where that storytelling can be beneficial. But definitely,
Hmm.
people, don't do it. Don't do it. And if you're guilty of it, when you own up to it that you're guilty from reading word for word on slides. If so, say it is me. I've done it. I'm guilty. Let us know. We'll give you some tips. Come on. So, what's the risk of over communicating? And I think
Annoying people.
bottom line up front, annoying people. It's just too much information. It'll just be too much, when
Yeah.
it's like after a while, you could start to see people maybe lose interest. They're
Hmm.
fading off. They're starting to get
Hmm.
distracted. They're looking at other things. Oh, let me check my. If they have computers, I'm gonna start checking something because it's just think about over communicating and reading word for word on a slide.
Oh my God.
People
Yeah. No.
people gonna be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got to take this," and they're gonna be walking out. All kind of, I got to drop. You go get those if they're via online. It's like really going back to understanding your audience, who's in the room, communicating effectively. And what does that mean? Really is driven by the desired outcome of the meeting. What do you
Mm,
hope to achieve? So if your goal is to put out information, well, what do they need to know? Maybe there's some nice to haves, maybe something people that want. What is it that they need to be informed to make a decision and move forward? And then everything else is fluff. And it might be nice to have, maybe put that in
mm,
an appendix, but really focus on that, you know, bottom line up front to an extent, but it also is driven by the audience. As we said,
yeah.
depending on who they are, they may want more information. Some people may want less. So
Yeah.
it's like really, but start to, if you're a new leader and you're having to present, and it could be times where I'm not good with presenting. I don't like to be in front of people, maybe more of an introvert type, or just, gets a little shy in front of the camera, in front of groups.
Mm,
Really just try to figure out who's in the room, what do they hope, what do they need out of this, and keep your slides, your information, your communication to just that.
I agree. There's a problem though. Somebody may say, well, okay, over communicating is bad. Not communicating enough is bad. So, like, where do you find the
It's a
happy
sweet
middle
spot.
ground, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and that's
tough.
what they have to do. Yeah. And it could be from, when you say that, finding the happy medium, it could be that you go through iterations. So you
Mm,
might go through one where you don't communicate enough. So
yeah,
then you get feedback from somebody saying, hey, you're missing this, this, and this, and this, and this. Okay, got it. You just have another meeting. Maybe you overcorrect.
yeah,
Now you have way more information. They're like, okay, now we need to dial it back.
yeah.
And it's like you got to find that median, and it'll come with over time through experience, lessons learned, trial and error, where you will start to gauge and understand, is it a group of my peers? Are they subordinates? Are they senior leaders? Are they even higher? And you could have a slide deck that looks different for each one of those groups, depending on what
Hmm.
they want to see. And it just come up with over time and experience.
Yeah. And some people will let you know straight up. They're like, my boss, for example, um, he's like, hey, why didn't you CC me on this? I was like, well, I'm just trying to save you some email space. Essentially, he's just going to be junk in your email. I thought that I'm doing him a favor by not including him in every like email I send to certain people or teams. But yeah, no, turns out he wants it, whether it's important or not. I was like, okay. Um, and I tend to be a bit more on the over communicating side, right? But I realize this and I know this.
Mhm.
So what I'll do in the header, I'll put, for action or for decision or
Yeah,
for information. And so that way, whoever's getting this email, they're like, oh, this is just for information. It's fine. Well, I don't read
hmm,
it. It's deprioritized automatically. But
yeah,
if, hopefully they see for action and then they open it and they see themselves in the to line. I was like, oh, this is mine. I need to
yeah,
action this. And it helps them manage their inbox as well, which I found extremely helpful because, like for example, the CEO, I don't send necessarily a lot of emails, but like sometimes I need something from the CEO and I'm like for action. And that works surprisingly very well.
yeah.
So that's my recommendation at least.
I agree with that because I've put down stuff like response required,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
urgent, things like
Hmm.
that to catch their attention. Also, with the CC part, one thing that one of my previous teams, did is, if it's a CC, it's like it's not for me. It's
Right,
just
exactly.
information. If I look at it, I do. If I don't, I don't, because it
Mm,
wasn't to me.
right,
Um, on the flip side, though, I'm not one to, I think, I don't know. To me, there's ways of keeping managers informed without
right.
CCing on every email. I, though they may want that, I don't need to know everything that's happening every moment. I absolutely don't. I have enough stuff to do on my own that I'm not going to be flooded. And so your mentality of thinking, well, I don't want to flood you with emails, I would appreciate that. For me, I'd be like, okay, I would say pull me in when I need to be pulled in, because we have a one-to-one for me to catch up on all the details.
True. Yeah.
I don't need to be CC'd on everything you do just to be just for what, to
Yeah.
me, that's from my perspective, that's an opportunity for that leader to grow just a little bit, because that's not necessary.
Yeah.
It's just not, because you have your own job as a
Yeah. Yeah.
leader, or you should. Now, if you got way more time on your hands and you got things, that's when you start to bleed over into those types of things. To me,
Mm,
it's like it's not necessary unless it's something hot, where it's
mm,
like I need to be informed because I might plug in and communicate in that chain as well. Most of the time, if I'm going to CC my boss, if it's not through a request, like I'm replying back, um, it's going to be an escalation.
mm.
And now I want you to see what's going on so you can have, and then we may talk about it offline. But now I'm pulling you in because I want you to see the nonsense or what's been communicating, or if there's been breakdowns in communication or supposed breakdowns in communication. I want you to see where there has not been, or provide evidence or something like information.
Yeah.
So that's just me.
No, I agree. And sometimes I do appreciate somebody saying, "Yeah, no, include me on this." And when you're talking, it made me think a little bit. Sometimes, like, we see things in different priorities, right? Like, I may
True.
see something as not important. So I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna
Hmm.
save Larry's email. But here you are. You are very interested in this topic because it has like a secondary and a tertiary effect for something that you're working on.
Yes.
So it's important for you, even though
Yeah.
it may not be important to me. So it goes back to communication, I guess. So yeah, I appreciate that, and I just kind of noticed that when you're talking, I was like, oh
But
yeah,
see that in that instance, just like what you said, I would disclose that in our catch-up meeting.
hmm,
So in our one-to-one, I would say, where are we on this topic? You could give me an update. Be like, you know what? Moving forward, nothing on you, but as those chains go by back and forth, please include me. I like to see what's going on in that
that's
specific
true.
topic
That's true.
versus anything you do, CC me on everything. Hell no. What? I don't need to know that. That's ridiculous. Like, it's, to me, and I think as we've gone through all of this, and providing insights to up and coming leaders, we identified maybe people, middle managers that have not gone through leadership training, and you could still even have senior leaders that have never actually had leadership training, never really
Hmm,
developed in the space. That's one of those things to talk about. Like, why would you want to? And for our listeners out there, if you're a leader that would say, CC me on everything, why would you? Are you willing to share? I'd love to get your insight. Why would you want that? Now, is it just to keep you informed? Is it, well, I want to ensure my new leader is XYZ, but then that
hmm,
can be taken offline. That could be coaching. I don't need to
hmm.
see, because there's always going to be feedback. Like, say T, you send out an email, pissed off somebody or something like that, it's going to come back around eventually. And now we have a talk. Hey, but I'm not going to, still not going to say CC me on it. I'm going to say, hey T, when responding, keep this in mind. Maybe use, some AI to clean up your messaging. It's coming off harsh, something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Go forth. I'm still not going to say CC me,
yeah. No, you're right.
because it's going to come back. I'm not going to do it.
But to give credit where credit's due, despite my boss is pretty good, to be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Like, he's
yeah,
the type of person that like processes like a huge amount of data, and like really spends the time and commits to it. I mean, personally, maybe I think it's a little too much, but like he's got the appetite. He's one of those people that were just like, we'll take in a lot of data and we'll sit there and we'll commit the time required to go through all the emails and reply to everything. And
Mhm.
those are rare to be, and that's
Yeah.
it's rare that I've seen that. And maybe that's why like the majority of my leaders are say, keep me off. Like I do not CC me. Like I had other leaders get mad at me. I'm like, why are you CCing me on that? you
Yeah.
know? And it's just like it's ingrained in my head. Like, oh, I don't need to CC my boss on everything.
Yeah.
But some people
I mean, some
want it
people it's their
and
thing.
process it. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and there are plenty of people where it's their thing, and as leaders, different bosses, I mean, you also have to meet them where they are and understand their
Yep.
expectations. Because
Yep.
if it's their expectation that that happens, two bags full, move out. That's it. You know, Too easy to do it.
Wait,
I
wait,
think,
wait, wait, wait. Did you say what is 2 bags full? Is that what you said?
yeah. Two. You never heard that in the military? Two bags
Uh-uh.
full.
Uh-uh.
Yeah, I'd have to. It's like if I give you, I think the way it is like two bags full, as in two bags of crap. I'm gonna just take it and move out. It doesn't matter. You're just gonna move out with it. I think that's what it is. It's been so long, I'm not sure. If somebody knows what it is, definitely educate us. And T has been there way too long. Maybe because he was an officer. That's probably why.
Yeah, that's real. Yeah, I've not heard that, or maybe I've heard it and just never stuck in my mind. But 2 bags
Yeah,
full. Yeah.
yeah. And then you just move out. Two bags full, move out. I think that's what
That's
it
awesome.
is. But all right, so final question that we'll cover is
Mhm.
what tools, either digital or analog, help leaders
Mhm.
communicate effectively in today's workplace? And I know there's plenty of things out there that can
Mhm.
be used, things that I've seen. I mean, it could be as basic as what you talked about, meeting minutes documented on a form.
Yeah.
If people want to use OneNote, there's Trello, there's Slack, there's all kinds of different ways to um, have some kind of open communication or review with your team, performance boards, huddle boards. And when I say board, it could be a physical board, it could be a digital one, it could be Excel, some kind of meeting where you look reviewing KPIs and touching on things. And there's a bunch of things. Anything in particular stands out for you, too?
Uh, People don't like this, but I embraced meetings, honestly. Like whether it's in person, I prefer in person. Like my number one choice is in person meetings. Let's
Hmm.
all sit around the table and just kind of discuss what's going on at each team. Like that
Yeah.
to me is the best way. Second best is virtual.
Hmm.
Probably third is email, I guess. Yeah, those usually don't go very well. So yeah, I'm old school, man. I'm stuck in my ways. I need
Now,
a
when you say
in-person
old
meeting.
school, I would say from a leader perspective, communicating effectively and maybe keeping, I won't say tabs, but notes on your team when it comes to
Oh, yeah,
coaching and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
performance reviews and quarterly reviews. To
yeah,
me, I'm old school where I'm gonna have a notepad and I'm
yeah,
gonna take notes
yeah.
because uh, you should be able to go back and say, on this date, skim through whether it's
Mm-hmm.
putting, like, for example, I'll put the date, my team member's name, what they did. So I can
Yeah,
go through this book and find that information. Now, some people may do it like through sticky notes on their computer, or whatever, but as long as you can go back and have some form
yeah,
of awareness of what your team members did throughout the year, because too many times with leaders that don't pay attention, the only thing they remember is what happened in the last 2 months of the year.
yep,
What about the other
yep,
time? But they so far removed, not taking notes, not nothing, and it's like, please, if it's as basic as write it down, write it down.
yeah. No, and I really like that. Really old school approach to just writing it down on paper. I
Yeah,
like it, and I used to do the same thing. Where it's just like I got a section in my notebook for each person. Every time we discuss something, say something, I write it down. But I also let people know, like, hey, do you mind if I write this down? Just kind of keep my mind fresh. What's going on? And I think
yeah,
people appreciate that. Also, I think it's better than a computer a lot of times.
yeah.
not always, but like it's also there's no barrier in front of the other person when you're talking, right? That
Yeah,
laptop when it's open, it's almost like a barrier. Or if you're sitting at
true,
a desk next to a computer with a huge monitor, that is a barrier because now
true.
you're like you're going in and out, you know.
Yep.
So I think that's why like Notepad, I think probably I agree, probably works best.
All right. Well, I think we'll call it right there. So thanks for tuning in to Command to Corporate. As always, if today's episode gave you value, do us a favor. Share with a colleague or teammate who's ready to step into leadership. Maybe they've already stepped into leadership. Maybe they need some fine tuning, or maybe you've been a leader for a while and haven't heard this information before. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And connect with us on YouTube where you can see our beautiful faces, Spotify, Apple Podcasts to listen for more leadership insights and resources. And until next time, lead with clarity, lead with purpose, and always remember mission first, people always. We'll catch you next time.